Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Wednesday night, here along the West Coast, that is. Thursday morning elsewhere. About 11:49 p.m. California time, October 4th. What do we got going on out here? Still getting quite the clustering of earthquake activity out here across the Izu Trench, Izu Island regions. Goodness, look at this. This is just in the last 24 hours. We did see a 6.1. That's going to be the largest in this sequence of earthquake activity here across the Izu Trench since the swarm kicked up here. I mean, quite a bit of earthquake activity kicking up. And there is two distinct areas that we're kind of watching, although it looks like for the most part the activity has been, well, it's kind of been bouncing back and forth, but the last 5 or 6 earthquakes here, including the 6-pointer, is confined to this area. That just leads me to believe here that there's still quite a bit of stress out there, folks. We'll continue to watch that. Last time we seen something like that, well, I think we had that 9-pointer up here back in 2011 in Japan, off the coast of Japan here. So we'll watch this. Definitely keep an eye on things out here. All right, what else for California? Things stirring up out here in the Chester area. Well, Lake Almanor, I should say. 2.6. A little bit of activity stirring up out here. The Cascadia subduction zone, pretty quiet out here. Some movement into the Mount St. Helens area. Once again, some small microquakes continuing. And also up around Seattle area, they've seen a 2.3 north of Seattle earlier this afternoon. Let me check out the tremor map here tonight and see what we have for Cascadia tremor. 102, 102 on the tremor count. Not a big deal. A little bit in Central Oregon, or in Central Coast of Oregon, and up around the Victoria area, Vancouver Island ranges, showing some activity there with the tremor department. Hawaii lighting up slightly out here. Got a couple earthquakes also right around the Kilauea volcano. The latest a 2.0. So let's go ahead and check out some activity, see if we can spot anything that may be of interest out here. Timothy was just mentioning a little bit ago that we're noticing a little tilt out here, elevated inflation. So let's see what we got. I'm not for sure which one you were using there, Timothy. I think it was this one. Looks like it was. And yeah, there's definitely been this elevated tilt here over the past 2 days. Steady rise. To me, it looks like things are recharging down here. And the month, well, yeah, this is about the month time period. Here's the eruption when it peaked up. And then after a couple days of being active, the swelling went down and the eruption ended there at Kilauea volcano back on the, I don't know, I think it was the 14th or 15th. But since then, we've seen these gradual periods here of inflation and deflation. And we're continuing that upward trend overall. I'm not seeing any huge spike in terms of, you know, impending eruption out here, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. As far as graphics go out here, I've not really seen any activity being seen in the dark, so to speak. What's this one up here? Maybe a little bit, looks like. I think that's looking down there at the Crater Lake area, or Lava Lake. There's still some hot spots down there. So there could still be a little flux of magma stirring up down there. But as far as the eruption stage, I don't, you know, I'm not really seeing it currently. There's some of the smoke, volcanic gases there from, well, this is from 9/23, so that one's way off. And that's way out of here. Of course, you really can't see too much in the daytime, right? So we'll check back on this tomorrow, but there's still a little bit of earthquake activity occurring out there, a little bit of tilt, and again, we'll just continue to watch that. Down in New Zealand, what in the world, what kind of modified mosquito is this? I just caught a mosquito on my computer screen here, and it's, man, these bugs are getting pretty fancy. This mosquito has extra long wings. All right, New Zealand, let's see what we got here for the activity down here. Looks like some minor movement. 3s kicking off there earlier throughout the day today. A quick glance here at GeoNet servers. 2.8 an hour ago, Collingwood area, South Island. 2.1, 2.6, 3.3, 3.1. That's about it in the last couple hours there. So some movement going on there across New Zealand. Not seeing anything major popping off here, but there's some of that earthquake activity I just mentioned in the past 6 hours or so. This is the last 24 hours. So a little bit active. South Island area, not so much, at least on the chart here. As far as Taupo supervolcano, let's give a quick glance here of the drums here around the Taupo supervolcano. This looks pretty quiet. Not a whole lot of movement showing up on that station. All right, there's that earthquake there in the Philippines earlier this morning. That was a 6.4. I think that's just a good indicator out here, folks, of the pressure gradient that's building up here across the Western Pacific. Not a whole lot of westward migration once again across the Java Trench, so we're just continuing to back build here pressure. There's a couple different scenarios, and any one could take place. Whether we see this ongoing earthquake swarm continue for a couple more days and die off, or we could see all this adjustment work its way further westward, similar to what we've seen with that 6.4 there in the Philippines earlier this morning. So we could see some larger scale movement potentially because of that northwestward pressure gradient, as what we see here. The Pacific plate is a huge plate, and let me tell you, there's quite the dynamics out here that are reinforced by other huge plates as well. It puts the Japan area, Kuril Kamchatka, all these areas in some major high risk areas for some large earthquakes. But I don't know if we're going to see the big one out here. As far as the big one goes, it's looking maybe, the percentages look like they're a little bit higher every day that we see this continued earthquake swarm. Again, similar to what we've seen in Japan back in 2011. They had a couple days of this type of activity, and then boom, the big one kicked up. But, who's to say that this is all just foreshocks to something big? I mean, there's really been no main quake out here. The 6.1 that struck earlier this evening is the largest in this sequence of earthquakes. So, potential larger quake activity here. Pretty much anywhere in this area where the stress is building up and that westward pressure gradient takes place here along the areas of the Filipino plate. But also a lot of times here, and this is probably a least likely scenario, is some of that pressure migrates further into this area, which would put further strain out along the Java Trench and up northward. I think the more likely scenario is going to be something much larger within this region, and we'll see how that plays out. It's continuing, and it's not letting up. A 4.0 right now, New Guinea area. A little bit of activity there. It looks like another earthquake in Hawaii. California, let's get back over here to the west coast here. Now it kind of got off track. Bay Area, fairly quiet. Southern California there, we were watching a little bit of swarming here, but that has since died off around the Salton Sea. Now we're picking up a little bit of activity around the Elsinore Fault here. This has been pretty quiet south of the Murrieta region. Some smaller movement quakes down here. A little larger activity up north here, 3.2. The Boron area, it looks like, outside of Edwards Air Force North Base area off 58. Not for sure what's out there besides a whole lot of desert. Let's see what we got here. Goodness. Look at that. I think that has something to, these are relatively shallow earthquakes as well, but that was a 3.2 that stirred up in this, what is this place? Anybody know what this place is? Let me see here real quick. Got to be something out here on the Google map, right? That would tell us what it is. Some type of mines out here, it looks like. Kramer Borax deposit. Is this all blocked out or what? Look at this. There should be something up here. I'm guessing it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be this right here. The Borax mine. That's a little interesting. So that is exactly where it's at. If we look on the other view right here, that's exactly what it's called. Visitor Center as well. Yay, maybe go down there and see what's going on here. U.S. Borax, part of Rio Tinto. So anyway, it looks like we got a little bit of earthquake activity out there, whether it's man-made or not. I'm thinking it probably is. But, yeah, this is relatively shallow earthquake activity. Negative 0.3. If anyone down in Southern California knows a little bit more about this area, or maybe someone just in general, chime in on the comments on the update video so we can all be informed. It's a little weird looking. All right, so earthquake activity up there into the, this is an interesting area too, because I believe this region has a lot more plate stress built up and a lot more potential for larger scale activity than what people think. Look at the dynamics here, right? It's kind of like a spring. You got the general plate movement out here of California, the North American plate scooting down to the southeast, the Pacific plate moving off towards the northwest, right? So that's your general plate stress movement here. And then you got this one going opposite. So as this is moving up north and this is moving down south, I can't help but wonder what type of springing is going on here between this area. It's got to be doing something. This is a very dynamic area. The southern branch of the San Andreas Fault in general is pretty locked and loaded and very capable of producing an 8.1. So, you know, it's a little interesting there. The Garlock Fault shear zone. Pretty quiet, but there is potential for some larger scale movement. I can't help but wonder if that goes. Will it cause the San Andreas Fault to go? Good possibility. All right, what else we got for the rest of the country? Scattered activity out there. Seen some big hail, some severe weather out in Texas and areas out there today. A lot of people chatting about that. Yellowstone National Park, just some smaller microquake activity. But aside from that, things pretty quiet there. Quick glance at space weather activity. I got to go to bed. It's past midnight here, and I got to get up super early in the morning. So I have a bunch of stuff to do, but I was just outside looking at the moon with this pretty cool telescope. But I'll have to post some tomorrow. Some pictures here. All right, what do we got? No flaring going on. Pretty low right now. We're down there into, well, we were at the B flare category. Looks like we may be sparking up a little bit into the C flare category from, let's see which sunspot that could be. Maybe some far side sunspot activity. I'm really not seeing anything active there across the visible disk. Here's an older image here of the sunspots. We do have some active regions there coming around the bend. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Hopefully they will be more active than what we're dealt with here in the past couple days. None of these continue to, well, none of these look like they're going to ramp up at all. There's a couple different cores gaining strength out here in some of these, but I don't see this thing being dynamic in terms of producing a decent flare. So we'll watch this area around the eastern limb of the sun, folks. Severe weather. I think this is right now, right? Where's this tomorrow? Continue over the next several hours. Looks like some high wind, rain, hail. I know Dallas-Fort Worth area getting in on quite a bit of precipitation and rain. Tomorrow a little bit quieter out there. All right, guys, I'm going to call it. Have a good one. And again, we do have a couple different stations up here. They all look pretty quiet for now, but Hot Caves, Hawaii, a little earthquake there. I'm trying to think what I should leave up. We'll just leave it like that for now. But either way, keep an eye here on the Western Pacific. I don't think it's done yet. I think it's still got some potential out here for some larger scale movement with this type of activity. Remember, this is a pretty good swarm. These are not just little microquakes. These are some decent quakes coming in here. And I got about almost 50 moderate to large earthquakes out here in the last week. Be prepared, stay safe. We'll catch you guys back here. Well, it's already tomorrow, so I'll catch you guys back here a little bit later on this morning. Have a good one.